The first scream didn't come from his mother. It came from somewhere deeper in the cave, low, sharp, then abruptly cut off. Kai froze mid-bite, the stale bread still in his hand. A second scream followed. Then the unmistakable sound of plasma ripping through stone. His mother's head turned toward the tunnel entrance. "Kai!" she whispered, voice trembling. "Hide! Now!" He dropped the bread and bolted toward the storage crevice behind the water barrel. It wasn't much, just a slit in the rock barely wide enough for his small frame, but they had rehearsed this. She covered the entrance with a stack of empty crates. Then silence, just long enough to make him believe maybe he had imagined it all. The silence shattered. A concussion blast rocked the chamber. The crates tumbled. His mother stumbled back, clutching her side, blood streaming between her fingers. Kai slapped a hand over his mouth. "Don't move. Don't make a sound." Then came the slavers. Not men. Machines with faces. Humanoid forms wrapped in obsidian armor, eyes glowing dull red under thick helmets. They moved with mechanical precision, firing in short bursts. Anyone who ran dropped like a sack of meat. One spotted his mother. She raised her hands, barely able to stand. "There are only children," she pleaded. "Just children." The drone fired. She fell without a sound. Kai bit into his knuckle, hard enough to draw blood, and pressed deeper into the crevice. His heart was a drumbeat in his throat. More screams. More blasts. The cave filled with smoke and the sickening stench of burning flesh. Shadows passed. Boots stomped. Voices, deep, garbled, non-human, spoke in a clipped language he couldn't understand. Minutes dragged like hours. Then, quiet. Kai stayed hidden. Waited. Counted his breaths. 100. 200. When he finally moved, he crawled out with care. The air was thick and hot. The walls were scorched black. Bodies were everywhere, friends, elders, the boy who gave him firewood last week. He didn't cry. He didn't dare. He went to his mother first. She lay face down, unmoving. One eye stared out, glazed and empty. He reached for her, but stopped. A sound echoed up the tunnel. The slavers were still there. He couldn't stay. Master Sato's words came back like a whisper. "If the cave falls, don't run toward safety. Run toward purpose. The mountaintop. The shrine." He looked at the body of his mother one last time. Then he turned and ran. The escape tunnel had been dug for emergencies, but never tested. Kai ran barefoot, the jagged stone floor slicing at his feet. He didn't stop. Above him, the earth trembled. Explosions rippled through the ceiling. Dust rained from the cracks. The tunnel twisted and narrowed. He crawled through sections on his elbows. Bats screeched past his head. At one point, the path was blocked by rubble. He clawed at it with bloodied hands, pulling free a gap just wide enough to squeeze through. His lungs burned. His arms screamed. He kept moving. Eventually, light appeared, a soft gray-blue glow of Tsurai's twin moons. Kai stumbled out onto the mountainside, gasping for air. The cold slapped him like a second assault. He looked back. The cave entrance behind him belched smoke. A distant hum filled the air, slaver drones circling above, scanning for escapees. He pressed into the underbrush. Time was slipping. So were his chances. Master Sato's shrine was at the peak. No path, no trail, just sheer ascent. Kai gritted his teeth and climbed. The mountain wasn't kind. Roots tripped him. Branches lashed his face. The cold turned his sweat to ice. He slipped once, tumbling down a patch of loose gravel, scraping his side raw. He pushed up again. Higher. Always higher. Images haunted him with every step, his mother's eyes, the silent boy with the wooden sword, the elders praying before being cut down. He should have died too. So why didn't he? At the edge of exhaustion, he reached a ridge. A flat outcrop. He collapsed there, trembling, skin torn, feet raw. Then movement. A silhouette emerged from the mist. Robes dark as night, face hidden behind a lacquered mask. Not a word spoken. Not a sound made. Just the figure watching. Master, Kai rasped. I came. The shinobi stepped forward. Moonlight glinted off his blade, sheathed but ready. Kai reached into his pocket and pulled out the token, an iron pendant shaped like a crescent. Proof of his family. Of his people. The shinobi took it. Studied it. Only one made it? The voice was calm, deep. Kai nodded. I couldn't save anyone. You weren't meant to. Kai lowered his head. Then what was the point? To survive. The shinobi turned. Come. If you can stand, you walk. If not, then you die here with the rest. Kai pushed himself up. His legs shook. Blood ran from a fresh gash on his calf. But he walked. Not because he was strong. Because he had no choice. Because the only thing more terrifying than dying was dying with nothing to fight for. The trail up the mountain was no trail at all. Just broken ridges, moss-slick stones, and roots clawing from the earth like twisted fingers. Kai climbed without rest. The forest around him whispered, not with wind, but with tension, like even the trees were holding their breath. His feet, already torn from the escape, bled with every step. Cold air cut through his tunic. Shadows shifted unnaturally, reminding him that drones could still be hunting. But he didn't stop. Couldn't. Not while the image of his mother's body still hovered behind his eyes. Not while the weight of that moment, her reaching hands, the blaster's flash, kept pressing down on his chest. He pushed harder, letting pain become rhythm. One step. Then another. By midday, Kai found a small stream cutting through a rock bed. He dropped to his knees, cupped water to his lips, and let it cool the fire in his throat. The taste was earthy, tinged with iron, but clean. He sat back, spine against a tree, eyes scanning the treetops. No drones. No hums. Just the forest breathing around him. He dared to exhale. A flash of memory returned. A training drill. Master Saito, standing silent while Kai and the other children stood blindfolded, listening to the mountain. The mountain speaks, he had said. It warns before it kills. Learn its voice. Now alone, Kai tried to listen. And heard. Movement. Quick. Precise. Branch to branch. Not a beast. Too clean. He didn't look up. He slid behind a root cluster, breath shallow. A second later, a shadow glided above the stream, sleek, black, wingless. A scout drone. It hovered. Scanned. Then moved on. Kai stayed still for a full minute before crawling out. The fear lingered, but so did the lesson. The mountain warns, he whispered. And then he kept going. By dusk, he reached the foothills beneath the shrine. Jagged cliffs rose above him like the spine of some great beast. The way forward was no longer a hike. It was a climb. He paused to wrap his feet with strips from his tunic. The cold bit harder up here. His hands, scraped and raw, stung every time he touched rock. He began to climb. Not fast, not gracefully. But with purpose. Every ledge felt like a challenge. Every grip tested resolve. When his arm gave out, he switched to his legs. When his legs trembled, he found another reason to keep going. Halfway up, exhaustion hit like a wall. He collapsed onto a ledge and curled into himself, breath shallow, skin burning. Sleep pulled at his mind, heavy and dark. And in that fog, the past crept in. He was 6. Sitting in the back of the cave school. His father, laughing as he handed Kai a wooden carving, a fox. For your quick hands, he had said. Then, later that year, the same hands held his father's after a mine accident. Blood. Crushed fingers. Silence. Another year. The fox carving lost. His mother's hands placing a shinobi token around his neck. You were born with weight on your shoulders, she had whispered. But you're not meant to break. Kai stirred. The sky above was deepening into a blanket of stars. The moons were rising. He had to move. The ledge narrowed into a near vertical path. One slip now and he'd be nothing but bones at the bottom. He climbed. Slow. Calculated. Each hold chosen carefully. Each movement deliberate. When he reached the summit ridge, his limbs were numb, but he didn't collapse this time. The shrine stood before him, carved from the mountain itself, ancient wood framed in obsidian stone, surrounded by mist and stillness. Lanterns flickered with cold fire. He had made it. Or so he thought. A whisper cut through the silence. Too slow. Kai spun. From the mist stepped a figure in full shinobi armor. Not Saito. Another. Taller. Blade drawn, but held low. You brought the slavers to our door, the voice said. Female. Yum. Unforgiving. Kai said nothing. He raised his hands, not in surrender, but to show he carried no weapon. The woman stepped closer. You stink of smoke and fear. I lived, he said simply. She blinked. That's not enough. No, Kai agreed. It's not. From behind her, Master Saito emerged. Still as stone. Eyes unreadable. He looked Kai over, blood, grime, the torn cloth wrapped around feet. Who are you? He asked. Kai straightened. I'm Kai. Son of Renjiro and Mira. Last of the Tsurai cave. Saito nodded. Why are you here? To remember, Kai said. To learn. To never let this happen again. Saito walked forward. Took the iron token from around Kai's neck. Examined it. Then tossed it off the cliff. Kai flinched, but didn't speak. That weight, Saito said, was false. If you need trinkets to hold memory, you are already weak. Kai didn't argue. Just waited. Saito turned away. Come, he said. If you can walk, follow. If not, let the wind bury you. The female shinobi looked him over once more before turning with her master. Kai followed. Step by step. Painfully. But he walked. Not because he believed he was strong, but because it was the only thing left to do. The shrine was colder than the mountain wind. Inside, stone walls bore no decoration, no banners, no names. Just the scent of iron and incense, smoke curling silently from a corner brazier. Kai stood near the entrance, his body trembling from more than the chill. His eyes locked on the wooden floor where dried blood formed faint stains. Old marks. Training scars. Saito motioned without looking. Kneel. Kai dropped to his knees. You climbed, Saito said, voice flat. You ran. You survived. Good. But survival is not the path. Survival is the beginning. Kai didn't reply. His legs throbbed, but he stayed still. Pain tells truth, Saito continued. You've met it. Now meet what comes after. From the shadows, the female shinobi, the same one who intercepted him, stepped forward. She carried 2 wooden practice blades. She tossed one at Kai's feet. Get up, she said. Kai stood. Slowly. Name's Rin, she added. Don't expect sympathy. Then she struck. There was no countdown, no warning. Just movement, fast, exact. Her blade snapped toward his ribs. Kai barely raised his to block, and still, the force sent him stumbling. Rin pressed the attack. High. Low. A spin. A sweep. Kai dodged 2 strikes but took the third to his shoulder. The pain lit a fire behind his eyes. Faster! She snapped. He tried. His grip tightened. He ducked and rolled. Blocked a blow and countered, but it was sloppy. She disarmed him with a twist. He hit the floor, wind knocked from his lungs. Saito watched in silence. Rin stepped back. You're not dead. Yet. Kai sat up, coughing. I wasn't ready. You'll never be ready, she said, tossing the blade back to him. That's the point. Training became routine, if brutality could be called that. For 3 days, Kai rose before dawn. No questions, no rest. He ran laps barefoot across jagged stone until his soles bled. He climbed ropes until his arms gave out. He sparred with Rin until bruises painted his skin. Meals were minimal. Instructions even less. But something inside him shifted. Not strength. Focus. He learned to breathe when overwhelmed. To feel the room even with eyes closed. To listen for the intention behind a step, not just the sound. Saito rarely spoke, but when he did, his words hit like blades. Technique means nothing if fear leads it. Pain doesn't decide your limit. Choice does. Legacy is not given. It's proven. Kai listened. And endured. On the fourth night, as stars burned through mist, Kai stood outside the shrine, muscles stiff, eyes tracing constellations he didn't know the names of. The wind whispered through the trees below, but something else moved with it. A hum. Low. Mechanical. Faint, but unmistakable. He ran inside. Master. Saito was already standing, eyes shut. They've come. How? Kai asked. They always follow the ashes. Rin grabbed her blade without hesitation. They'll search the summit next. Kai turned to Saito. We fight? The old man opened his eyes. You observe. But you observe. Saito walked toward the door. This lesson is not yours to lead. It's mine to finish. The next hour was preparation. Rin vanished into the shadows, setting traps along the cliff. Kai followed at a distance, studying her movements, how she laid pressure lines across loose stone, dipped blades in sap laced with neurotoxins, wedged smoke bombs into branches. Every step she took had purpose. Saito remained calm, watching the sky, listening. Then the dropships arrived. Sleek, black arcs that cut across the stars and hovered above the ridge. Kai crouched beside a stone, heart pounding as hatches opened. Drones deployed first. Tall. Silent. Scanning in all directions. Behind them, troops in segmented armor, heavier than the scouts. 2 squads fanned out with rifles drawn. And then came him. Zereth Kal. Broad shoulders. A cloak woven with sigils of conquest. His eyes burned blue beneath the helm. His voice echoed, distorted through a voicecaster. Shinobi of Earth. You hide rats in the hills and call it honor. Saito stepped into view. No armor. No weapon in hand. Just stillness. I do not hide, he said. Kal sneered. You were once counsel. Now you kneel in dirt with ghosts. I kneel to nothing. Least of all tyrants who enslave children. Kal raised a hand. A drone charged. Before it could fire, a wire snapped. It dropped, body convulsing, limbs locked. Another stepped forward and vanished into a pit lined with sharpened stakes. Chaos unfolded. Rin struck from the trees, blade flashing. She moved like a phantom, slicing tendons, dropping soldiers with silent grace. Kai watched it all, every feint, every movement, every tactic drilled into her bones. Saito, still unarmed, stepped through gunfire untouched. He moved like water, disarming a soldier with one shift, disabling another with a palm strike that shattered armor. But Kal didn't fight. Not yet. He watched. Then, when Rin dropped her 5th enemy, he moved. Fast. Too fast. Rin barely blocked the first strike. Kal's blade, long and jagged, cracked her parry and sent her rolling. Saito stepped between them. Blades met. Kai had never seen Saito fight before. It was terrifying. No wasted movements. No excess. Just raw, perfect motion. Kal struck with brute strength, but Saito turned every swing against him. Still, the warlord's armor absorbed the lighter strikes. Saito moved closer, faster. But age was catching him. A shoulder graze. A cut along his side. Blood seeped through his robe. Kai couldn't watch anymore. He stood. And sprinted. Rin called out. No! Too late. Kai dove into the fray, rolling beneath Kal's guard, and jammed a sap-coated spike into a joint seam in the warlord's leg. Kal roared, blade swinging downward. Saito caught it with both hands. The blade split his palm, but he held it. Kai! Saito growled, eyes locked with the warlord's. Finish it. Kai didn't hesitate. He slid behind Call, grabbed the hilt of the old shinobi blade lying in the dirt, Rin's back up, and drove it under the warlord's arm, through the joint, and up. Call stiffened. Then collapsed. Saito fell to one knee. Kai rushed to him. The old master smiled. Barely. Not observation, he said, voice cracking. Adaptation? Kai nodded, tears brimming. You were ready, Saito whispered. You just didn't know it yet. Then his eyes closed. Sato's body was still. Too still. Kai sat beside him, hands stained red, unable to blink. The old master's face had softened, not in pain, but in peace, like he'd already moved beyond the mountain. For a second, everything froze. Then blaster fire cracked the air. Not all of Call's forces were gone. 2 remaining soldiers, shaken but alert, approached from the ridge, rifles raised. They barked into their calms. Reinforcements were likely en route. Rin limped from behind a stone outcrop, clutching her side. They'll call more. We don't have time. Kai stood slowly, eyes on the 2 soldiers. His breath steadied, not from calm, but clarity. He picked up Sato's blade, the one he had never seen drawn, and unsheathed it. The steel whispered. The soldiers spotted him. They weren't expecting a child. One barked a laugh and leveled his rifle. Kai moved. Not with rage. Not with fear. He flowed. Just as Saito had. He closed the distance before the soldier could fire, slid low, and sliced behind the knee. The man collapsed with a scream. The other raised his rifle, too late. Rin threw a blade from behind Kai, catching the second soldier across the throat. They fell. Quiet returned. Kai exhaled. They didn't bury Saito. The shinobi way was different. Kai wrapped the body in a black cloth, placed his master's mask across the chest, and lit the fire atop the stone altar. No prayers. Just flame, rising into the stars. He knew they'd come, Rin said beside him. He waited for it, Kai replied. She nodded once. Now it's yours. What is? She looked at him fully. The shrine. The teaching. The name. He didn't answer. Couldn't. He turned back to the fire. Morning came gray and windless. Smoke curled into the sky, stretching toward the horizon where more slaver dropships might already be en route. Kai watched the valley below. I'm going down, he said. Rin raised a brow. To what? To warn the others. What's left of us? The caves are gone, but not everyone was there. And if the slavers intercept you? Then they learn what Saito taught me. She studied him. You speak like someone older. I'm not, he said. But I've seen enough to stop being young. Rin didn't argue. Instead, she handed him her backup blade. Then go. I'll hold the shrine. Kai took it, strapping it across his back beside the sword he'd drawn last night. Thank you, he said. Rin looked away. Just don't die. I'm not training another one. The descent was harder than the climb. Not because of terrain, but because the boy who had once crawled up that mountain had been shattered and reforged on its summit. Each step down felt like shedding a layer of who he used to be. By dusk, he reached the lower ridge. The air was still. Too still. Then movement. 3 slavers. Patrol team. They didn't expect an ambush. Kai crouched, waited, and timed his strike with the wind. A tripwire. A flash. A blade to the neck. Silence again. He kept moving. Through the woods. Past the stream where he once drank. Over the hill where his feet had bled. 2 days later, he reached a burned-out settlement near the southern cliffs. Smoke still drifted from blackened trees. But something else stirred. Humans. Half-starved. Scattered. Survivors. Children, mostly. A few adults. Broken, but breathing. They flinched when he emerged. But he didn't speak right away. Instead, he walked to the center, removed the shinobi blade, and drove it into the earth. I came from the shrine, he said. Silence. I was trained by Saito. He died fighting the warlord who destroyed the cave. That warlord is dead now. A pause. A murmur. I'm not a leader, Kai added. But I know how to disappear. How to strike without being seen. And I can teach you. A man stepped forward. Hollow-eyed. What if we don't want to fight? Then don't, Kai said. But don't wait to be killed either. He looked around. At the children. The elders. The ones who had nothing left. He lowered his voice. We don't beg for light. We become shadows. And shadows don't break. One by one, heads nodded. Weeks passed. Kai taught them how to move in silence. How to listen. How to vanish. He trained the strong to guard the weak. Built watchposts from ruins. Dug hiding tunnels where roots ran deepest. He gave the smallest child a wooden fox, carved from memory. Told him to keep it until he passed it on. When drones came, they disappeared. When soldiers landed, they didn't find prey. They found ghosts. One night, Rin appeared again. She moved through the trees like she never left. I thought you stayed at the shrine, Kai said. I did. Until it was time. Time for what? She handed him a scroll. Inside, names. Coordinates. Other shinobi. Scattered across systems. Some in exile. Some hiding in plain sight. You're not alone, she said. He looked up at her. No, he said. We're not. She smiled faintly. So, Master Renjiro? He shook his head. Kai is enough. Far above, beyond the clouds, slaver fleets circled. But they didn't see what waited in the shadows. Because one child had reached his master. And then became one.